Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM WIUX. And we have had a crazy sports week this past week with the NCAA Basketball March Madness Tournament. It has been absolute madness, this tournament. There is not a single number one seed in the Final Four. There wasn't a single Final Four seed or single one seed in the Elite Eight. That's all crazy. First time ever. Crazy. We have NHL, 10 games left, teams starting to clinch, teams fighting for those last playoff spots, for different seeding. Same with the NBA, you're coming down to the wire there. NFL, you got some drafts coming up in about a month. Got a month away. Lamar Jackson came out that he asked for a trade earlier this month. And then, of course, what we're going to spend a lot of this show on, along with March Madness, is baseball season is here. It starts this week. And I am hyped. I am so hyped for this baseball season. I know not that baseball sometimes doesn't work with everybody. I am so hyped for this baseball season. I am so excited to watch some crazy 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and some in-the-dirt sliders and some absolute piss missile home runs. I'm jacked. I'm so hyped. But we're not going to start. We're going to backtrack a bit, and we're going to go to March Madness as we have our Final Four, like I said before, out of the South region. We have San Diego State University. It is their first appearance in the Final Four. It's the first appearance for the Mountain West Conference in the Final Four. It's the first time in a long time the Mountain West has gotten a win in the NCAA tournament, let alone get to a Final Four. Huge for that conference. Huge for San Diego State. Out of the Midwest, we got Miami, Florida, with some big upsets as well. They took down Indiana. They took down Houston. And they took down Texas. They took down the 1, the 2, and the 4 seed to get to the Final Four. Out of the West, we got University of Connecticut, UConn. You know, that was a kind of a sexy pick, I guess, or not to come out of the West. That wasn't the 1 seed Kansas or UCLA. You know, a lot of people like this UConn team being a 4 seed. They did beat Gonzaga to get to the Final Four in the Elite Eight. And the final team coming out of the East, which I guarantee you nobody had unless you went to this school. And even if you did go to this school, there's no way you thought they were getting this far. And that is FAU. Now, they didn't have to go through Purdue, as Fairleigh Dickinson took care of that for them. But they did have to go through Tennessee. They did have to go through Kansas State. And now they're here in the Final Four. And they're probably the biggest shock out of all the shocks that have happened so far in this tournament. They have to be the biggest one. And we'll start off with them versus San Diego State. I think for both teams, it's kind of a different aspect. San Diego State, you saw that game against Creighton. Tough watch if you liked offense. It was a tough watch if you liked offense, because there was not that much scoring going on in this game. A lot of rimming out, a lot of misses. But this team knows how to defend. They're a veteran team. They defend hard. They defend well. They're going to force you to make tough shots. They're going to turn the ball over. They're going to cause a nightmare on the offensive side for the other team. But this FAU team can score the lights out. They can shoot from 3. They can get to the rack. They are good in transition. This is a very, very, very good FAU team when it comes to scoring the basketball, and they can defend as well. Don't let them tell you that they can't defend, because they can defend. I'm pulling up the line here. I know San Diego State is favorite in this game. I'm just trying to get the exact line here. All right, so San Diego State is 2-point favorites against FAU. And in this game, I'll be honest, I like FAU. I think that San Diego State, while defense usually wins championships, you got to be able to score the ball when needed. You got to be able to hit those free throws when needed. You got to be able to, put the ball in the basket when it comes to crunch time. And FAU has shown time and time again that they can do that this tournament. I'm picking FAU to advance to the national championship game. On the other side, Miami, Florida has not been favored. It's been favored in only their first game. They weren't favored against Indiana. They weren't favored against Houston. They weren't favored against Texas. And they are not favored again against UConn. They are, I think it's 5.5 point underdogs to win this game. UConn is a very tough team as well. They know how to score the bucket. They have that big 7-footer in the paint. They can hit the three. This is a very dangerous team. They demolished Gonzaga. They demolished Gonzaga in order to get to the Final Four. By over 20 points, they beat them. It was kind of a shock to me. I knew this UConn team was good. I knew they had a chance to go. I wasn't buying into this hype of a Final Four run from them, but I clearly was wrong. I mean, my bracket completely screwed. Big on Kansas State and Marquette. They wash out early. Or Marquette washed out early. Heartbreaker for Kansas State this past weekend for me. I loved Texas. They lose in a heartbreaker to Miami. And who else? I loved UCLA, and they lost a heartbreaker to Gonzaga. So all the teams I really had going in this tournament has fizzled out. All of them, which is kind of surprising to me. But it just wasn't my year. Wasn't my year. That's what makes predicting this tournament so difficult. That's what makes making a bracket so difficult. There's just so many upsets, so many twists and turns that you can never see. That it's sometimes easier if you don't know the game of this game as well to predict, because you're not going based on what you've seen. You're just kind of randomly picking, and it can help. I'll tell you what, sometimes it works. But this is going to be a high-scoring game in the UConn-Miami game. It's going to reach probably at least, I think, both teams are going to at least hit 75, probably, I think, maybe even 80. Both teams know how to score the ball very efficiently. Miami, who didn't even need to use the three-point ball that often against Texas, still find a way to win. I think they get back to that three-point ball. I think Wong doesn't have an inconsistent of a game. Miami has been doubted this entire tournament, and I am not falling for that trap again. I am going Miami to win this game against UConn. That's what I think. But here's what I will say. I think whoever wins the UConn-Miami match is going to win the national championship, regardless whether they play San Diego State or FAU. I think if it's Miami versus FAU, I think they score the ball better than FAU. I think they're a bit more well-rounded than them. I just think they're more talented than them and they play a very similar style of basketball. So I would like Miami there. And against the same reasons I like FAU against San Diego State, same reasons I would like Miami against San Diego State. Ultimately, that's why I would have Miami. And it's very similar to UConn, and I don't think FAU could handle UConn's size, plus what Miami brings. I just think they're better at scoring the ball than FAU is. But we're in for a treat. The public is in for a treat with these final games. I'm really looking forward to it. With no stake left in it, we'll make some bets, but yeah, no Indiana, none of my big teams that I made in my bracket. I'm just looking to enjoy some good, crazy basketball, some good college basketball. That anything can happen. I mean, if FAU wins this tournament, I mean, if you told me 2 weeks ago, I'd be shocked. But tell me that now, I wouldn't be that surprised. If any of these teams could win, the fact of the matter is, there's a stat. I think it's number 14. Is the number of the combined, usually the average, not exact, but it's around the average number seeds. If you combine all the seeds that make the Final Four, that's the total number adds up. For example, if all four number one seed made it, the combined total will be 4. So it's usually around 14. This year, you got 5 seed San Diego State. You got 5 seed Miami. That's 10 already. Then you got 4 seeded UConn, that's 14, and 9 seeded FAU. That is 23 total. That's insane. That's an insane number. I predicted it to be a little low. I didn't really like the number 1 seeds, but I liked the 2 through 4 seeds, really. I could have never predicted 2 5 seeds and a 9 seed yet. It absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. But that's why it's March Madness. That's why it's madness. And that's what makes it so much fun to watch. But when we come back, we got my predictions for this new MLB season. I'm going to tell you which teams are making the playoffs. I'm going to give you my MVP and Cy Young predictions for each league right when we come back here on the Scharf Show. 99.1 FM, WIUX. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM, WIUX. And the MLB season kicks off this week. That is right. 162 games for your favorite baseball team is just upon us. And I'm going to give my predictions on what the playoffs are going to look like and who I think are winning the big awards in the MVP and Cy Young. We are going to start in the AL. And we'll start with the seeds. So in my opinion, the top seed in the AL this year going into the playoffs will be the Houston Astros. Shocker, anybody? No, because this Houston Astros team is filthy. They are good top to bottom. I know they lost Verlander, but their pitching is still with Javier, with Garcia. This is still a very, very good, very well-rounded rotation that can do damage. So I'm not too worried about them. And then on the offensive side, they fixed the biggest hole with Yuri Gurriel leaving, and he's really struggling as he's up. I think he's 40 plus at this point now, or he's around 40 then. Really started to tail off. They go out and they sign Jose Abreu. They also re-sign Michael Brantley. He'll come back as he went down with a season-ending injury and left a decent hole that was in the lineup for the Astros. They got Trey Mancini to fill that, but Michael Brantley's better than Trey Mancini was for them last year in the Houston Astros jersey. So bringing Abreu and bringing most of this team back, I know you lost Verlander, but I still love this team, and I think they're probably the favorite to win the World Series again next year. And we move on to the number 2 seed. And this was, I think, I was torn because I think this division, whoever wins the AL East will be the 2 seed. But you have to go Yankees. You have to go Yankees. It might hurt me, but I am definitely, there are concerns about this Yankee team. Listen, they brought up Volpe. Volpe is made the roster opening day. It is a huge plus for this Yankees team if he can make an impact. That's a huge big, because my biggest worry with this team is the hitting. They lose Benintendi. They don't really sign anybody significant. They just re-sign Rizzo and they re-sign Judge. Obviously, you needed to re-sign Judge, or that would have been a disaster. But this team was carried a lot by Judge in the second half, hitting-wise, scoring-wise. And I don't think Judge is going to put up that historic of a season next year. I think, could Judge put up 50 home runs? Yeah, I think he could. I don't think he's going to touch 60. I don't think he's going to come close. So, I just don't think, and I also think people are going to pitch him a lot more carefully for most of the year. I don't think he's going to see a lot of those meatballs that he might have saw last year. So, I'm curious to see who really steps up in this lineup. Is it going to be Josh Donaldson? Does he have a break? Does he have a fountain of youth year? Does Volpe really break out? Can Stanton stay healthy and stay consistent? Does Rizzo just start mashing home runs on that lefty because of that lefty advantage at Yankee Stadium? This is something I am concerned about. The reason why, though, I have picked them is because, well, they went out and they signed Carlos Rodon. So that pitching staff is probably a top 3 pitching staff. You can argue the best pitching staff in baseball. You know, a two-headed monster of Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon. I know how much people like to crap on Garrett Cole and how he's not elite. He is elite. Is he the top elite now? Is he the top 1% of the 1%? Is he one of the top 3 pitchers in baseball? I don't think so. But he's still an elite pitcher. He still is a game-changing pitcher. Maybe not what the Yankees thought he was going to be, but still an elite pitcher. Pair him up with Rodon, Severino, Frankie Montas. This is going to be... and I know a couple of them got hurt. You know, Nestor Cortez still there. I think he has a bit of a regression year, but still very solid pitcher. This is a very good rotation. And ultimately, I think that helps lead them to a division title and second place in the AL. Third place, well, you know what division we're going to because there's only the AL Central left. And both Centrals, man, both Centrals need to pick it up on both sides because they're, compared to the others, as a division as a whole, they're kind of lacking. But the winner of the AL Central, in my opinion, will be the Cleveland Guardians. They will repeat. And I think this Cleveland Guardians team, if they had an owner who was willing to spend a decent amount of money, this team could be a World Series contender. Because they know how to develop pitching better than almost anybody. Them and the Rays develop pitching like nobody's business. And they got, so if you add like Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie, this is a very, very, very good team pitching-wise. And they always have. And now on the hitting side, you know, Andres Jimenez has really broken out. Stephen Kwan was outstanding for you in left field. And then you go out and you sign Josh Bell and Mike Zunino to add to 2 bats. Josh Bell is going to probably play first base, you know, maybe platoon a bit with DH. Is a switch hitter. Got power from both sides. Zunino is a very good opposite pitcher hitter. You know, you're going to like probably platoon him a bit, but brings a lot of power. It brings a lot of pop to a lineup that didn't, besides Jose Ramirez, had a lot of contact guys. Didn't really have guys who could drive, guys who really made, with one swing, made a huge difference besides Ramirez. And that's what they're getting with both Bell and Zunino. I really like this team to win this division next year. I think they're better than they were last year. And I'll speak because I don't have them. Spoiler alert: I don't have either the Twins or the White Sox making the playoffs. I don't trust the White Sox. I think that they can definitely win this division. If they stayed healthy, that's another thing. I just don't trust this division. I don't trust Lucas Giolito to stay healthy. I don't trust all these guys, Luis Robert, a bunch of other guys to stay healthy. They lose Jose Abreu. They do sign Benintendi. I really like that signing. But I don't know. I just don't like the feel. I really love this White Sox team last year, and they bit me in the butt, and it might be just like because of what happened last year, because of me picking them to go very far, but I don't know. I'm not sold on them. And the Minnesota Twins, they're very dependent on health. If Byron Buxton is healthy, he could be an MVP caliber player. It completely changes their team, but he hasn't been able to do that in a long time. So I'm not going to pick them just because I'm not going to count on that. Although re-signing Correa was huge. Getting Christian Vasquez is a nice piece. Bringing Joey Gallo in as an experiment. You know, if Joey Gallo returns to form, that's huge. Vasquez is a very nice catcher. Whew, that was, yikes. Catcher with him but losing Gary Sanchez. Those are nice pieces that you can add. And they also traded Gio Urshela, took him away. And I think, like I said, you're upgrading the catcher position. You got to keep Correa. You're upgrading. You're taking a chance on Gallo. And if Buxton can return to form, this is a team that can definitely make the playoffs. But I just don't see them doing that. I just don't see Buxton staying healthy enough for this team to make a significant run at the playoffs. But I think they'll be in it till the end in the division race. All right, moving on a bit. The number one wild card I have, well, that's coming out of the AL East, and that's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. I really considered picking Toronto to win the division, but I ultimately decided to stay away from that, as just to have things go wrong a lot until they prove they can take down the Yankees for the division title. I'm not going to give it to them, but I like what they did this offseason very much. They re-signed Anthony Bass. They did trade Teoscar Hernandez, but they pick up Kevin Kiermaier, who will be in the outfield. But Kiermaier, is he better than Hernandez? No. But Kiermaier is better defensively, and he's a lot more reliable health-wise. So you know you're going to get a lot more games out of Kiermaier than probably you're going to get out of Hernandez. And then, even though Ross Stripling left, signing Chris Bassett, I think, is the most underrated signing of this offseason. I think Chris Bassett is going to be a dog for this Toronto Blue Jays team. You have Kevin Gausman, Alek Manoah, and now Chris Bassett. That is a three-headed monster. I think this team has the pitching to keep up with the Yankees. I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and this team has enough hitting to keep up with the Yankees. I think it's just being able to put it together for a full season. And see, I do think this team can win the division. I'm just, again, like I said, I'm not going to pick them until they dethrone the Yankees. I'm going to give the Yankees the nod. But I am a huge believer in this Blue Jays team very much. Then, the 5 seed, the second wildcard team, I got in the Seattle Mariners. This is a very good Seattle Mariners team that I very much like. They're just going to get better as Julio Rodriguez continues to get better and lead this team. They go out and they make a huge trade for Teoscar Hernandez. They bring in Colton Wong for Jesse Winker. This is a very good team. They got pitching with Robbie Ray and Luis Castillo. You got your big guy in Julio Rodriguez. Like I said, bringing in Teoscar Hernandez, who's a nice power bat for that outfield. Bringing in a solid second baseman like Colton Wong, who can is good defensively, nice contact hitter, just a good guy to have around the locker room. Is definitely going to be a better upgrade than Adam Frazier was for them last year. This is a very good team who's going to continue to get better as they get older. Their window is just opening. Although I do like them at 5th. I think they can definitely challenge for the 4th wild card, or the 1st wild card, 4 seed, but I don't see them challenging for the Astros for the division. I think that's just another level they're going to have to get to if they want to do that. And then the final seed, I am not going to lie, I was torn between 2 teams. The Tampa Bay Rays, who have made the playoffs how many years in a row? And this team, even though they'll lose so many pieces, they bring up so many pieces, and they find a way to make it work. But ultimately, I had them falling short. And this prediction, I kind of hope it comes true, because I want to see playoff Trout, although I would like to see Ohtani traded to the Mets. But ultimately, I think I'm going to predict the Los Angeles Angels to make the playoffs. They had a very solid offseason. They got Tyler Anderson, and they got Carlos Estevez. Anderson to start and be another guy in that rotation, because the problem for them has always been pitching. You gotta hope Rendon does something this year. He's too talented not to, and if he stays healthy, you gotta hope he produces at least a little bit. They got Gio Urshela from the Twins. That's a nice piece that you can platoon there. They also got Hunter Renfroe for their outfield. Now you're pairing that with the way Shohei Ohtani was playing in the World Baseball Classic, the way Trout was playing. They're probably so amped up. I gotta think, especially with Taylor Ward coming back, hopefully a bounce back year from Jared Walsh. Again, Anderson, who was an all-star last year to go into rotation and a Carlos Estevez to go into that bullpen. I know it's wishful thinking a bit, but I don't think it's ridiculous to say that they could make the wild card. I will say, I do like Texas. I just don't think. I think they brought too many pieces. I think it's going to take another year or two. I think their pitching is going to be very good with Jacob deGrom. I like Seager. I like their hitting. I just don't think ultimately it comes together, at least this season. I think they need a couple more pieces. But I do think they're knocking on the door pretty soon. But I wasn't really considering them. It was between, for me, either Tampa Bay or the Angels. I don't know. I just wasn't huge on Texas with this team. I love what they did in the offseason. I love them getting deGrom. Obviously paid a lot for him. Getting Heaney, re-signing Martin Perez. You know, this is a team that now has a lot better pitching, but we'll see. We'll see. Now we move on to the MVP and Cy Young. And for the MVP of the American League, I'm going Mike Trout. It's been a couple years since he's won one. He's coming off of a World Baseball Classic where he just lost in the finals to Shohei Ohtani. He's probably going to also be in the running for MVP. He has been healthy for a full season in a little while, and I think he's out for blood this season. I think he knows this is probably Shohei's last season in Los Angeles with the Angels, and he is going to have a monster year. I think this is going to be one of Trout's best years. I think Trout has a season for the ages. I don't know. I have a gut feeling. And I know that's kind of a safe pick. Maybe the safe pick is Ohtani. I like Trout. I really do. And then for the Cy Young, I am going to go Jacob deGrom. You could go a guy like Alek Manoah. I like Dylan Cease as an underrated option, although he did come second last year to Justin Verlander. I think Kevin Gausman is a good pick. Shane McClanahan's an underrated one. But I'm going to go Jacob deGrom. I think he stays healthy for most of this year. And when Jacob deGrom is healthy, he's the best pitcher in baseball. And it's not even close. It's not even close. Even as a non-Mets fan, saying that he's not on the team anymore, it's still completely obvious. It's going to be hard to pick against him. I think he stays healthy for most of the year at least. Enough innings that he pitches that he ultimately, it'll be hard for the baseball committee not to give him the award. We're going to move on to the NL now. And the team I got coming in first place in the NL. You would think the Dodgers, but it's the San Diego Padres. That's right, the San Diego Padres. I have knocking off the Los Angeles Dodgers to take over that division and win the NL West. Now, for future-wise, I don't know if I love signing Xander Bogaerts because I think it means Juan Soto is going to leave. I think it's pretty much set in stone now. Soto's here for another 2 years, and he's leaving. But for right now, when you're not focused on the future, you're focused on winning now, and Xander Bogaerts completely helps you do that. They have the best top four lineup in baseball with Tatis, with Bogaerts, with Machado, and with Soto. That is unreal. That is an all-star that's an all-star. It might be better than the all-star lineup first four you might see for the NL. That's how good that lineup is. It's ridiculous. They did lose Josh Bell. They did lose Mike Clevenger, Brandon Drury, but getting Xander Bogaerts completely changes that all. I think you're going to see Musgrove have a great year. They re-signed Yu Darvish. And then you still got Blake Snell there. I really like this Padres team, especially with what happened with the Dodgers losing some pieces like a Trey Turner. I do like this Padres team to come out strong and win the National League. And I don't think that's ridiculous. It might be crazy for some people to write off the Dodgers. I'm not writing them off, but I just like this Padres team to take over this division. They're that talented hitting wise, and pitching wise. I love Joe Musgrove. I think he's a dog. And yeah, I think Yu Darvish has a great year as well. The number 2 seed. Well, this might be a little biased, but I don't think it's ridiculous. I'm going to go with the New York Mets. I know losing Edwin Diaz hurts. I know it does. But it has been proven that you don't need a shutdown closer to be successful. You don't need it. Is it a lot more stressful? You bet. There's going to be a lot more games where the Queens and me are going to be sweating a lot more in the ninth than we want to be. But you got guys like David Robinson. You got other Ada Amavino who can fill in if they need to go trade for one. You know Steve Cohen is going to go trade for one. So it's a blow, but it'd be more of a blow if somebody from their starting rotation got hurt, in my opinion. So this team, I think they lose DeGrom, they sign Verlander. They lose Bassett, they sign Senga. They go out and they get Robinson. Quintana, that loss definitely hurts. But David Peterson's been killing it in the spring training so far, and he's in the rotation. This is a very good team. Very good team. And I think what's going to separate this team from last year is I think you're going to see Beatty get called up very early. I think in the first 2 months, Beatty's going to get called up. I think Alvarez gets called up relatively before the All-Star break or around the All-Star break. These two guys are going to make a huge impact, I think, when they come up and really give another level to this roster that you haven't seen before because they've been like vets. It's been James McCann. It's been Eduardo Escobar. And Escobar's been okay. He's been hot and cold. McCann's not been okay. He's now gone. And you got Omar Narvaez there. But those guys can bring another level to this lineup that makes this lineup so deep, so talented, that I am ultimately going to pick this team, especially with them having the best 1-2 punch in the league and pitching-wise with the two savvy vets in Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer. All right, moving on to the 3rd seed, and that will be coming out of the NL Central, of course, and that I got the St. Louis Cardinals. They filled their biggest need in catcher, and they go get it from a rival, and they go get Wilson Contreras. They re-signed Adam Rainwright. Now, they did lose Pujols. They did lose Molina. But you kind of knew that was happening. And replacing Molina with Wilson Contreras is huge. I just think they're good. They're a very good team. But I also think what helps is the division, I think, is not very good. I think Milwaukee might be able to challenge them a bit. I just don't think Milwaukee has the hitting. They have the pitching, obviously. We talked about it last year. We've talked about it for years now. Milwaukee has the pitching to win a World Series, honestly. But they just don't have the hitting. They don't even have close to the hitting. And I think that's going to hold them back from making the playoffs. You know, when you got guys like Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta, it's pretty sad to see what kind of hitting they put up. I mean, I like Urias. I like some of the guys that they have. They just don't have enough stars. They don't have enough guys that are going to come in and really change their lineup or change the trajectory of their season. And I like them going to get a Jesse Winker, but I just don't see them. Also, William Contreras, I thought, was one of the best pickups of the offseason. But I still don't think this gets them into the playoffs. I think they'll be close, but not close enough ultimately, because I think if they don't win the division, this wild card race in the NL is crazy enough that I don't think they will make it. So, moving on to the first wild card, though, I'm going to have the Atlanta Braves, the former NL East division winners. I know a lot of people have them winning the NL East, and I don't think that's crazy. I think it's going to be a three-headed monster race, three-headed chariot race for the finale for this division. I think it's up for anybody's grabs. I don't think, if you said the Phillies going to win this division, I don't think that's ridiculous. You said the Braves, not ridiculous. I have the Mets, not ridiculous. This is going to be an absolute bloodbath in the NL East. The reason why I am picking them to not win the division is because I just don't think they did enough to improve. I think losing Dansby Swanson is going to hurt more than people think. I know Garcia's or Vaughn Grisham is a very good piece. Rookie, he played well, but I think he's going to go into a bit of sophomore slump. I'm not saying he's going to have a bad year, but I think he's going to struggle a bit. Same with Michael Harris. Michael Harris had such success coming straight from Double-A last year. I think pitchers find where he struggles at a bit, and I'm not saying, again, that he completely collapses, but I don't think he's going to have the success he had his rookie year. I do think their pitching is just going to get better. I think Strider is going to be absolutely ridiculous this year. I think Sean Murphy's a nice piece, although how much hitting-wise versus William Contreras does that give you? Definitely gives you better defense, but how many runs is that going to lead to? So ultimately, this is a World Series contending team, but ultimately I don't think they got a lot better. And I think that people are underestimating how much Dansby Swanson meant to that team last year. So I think they get the top wild card spot and not the division title. The number 5 seed, I'm going with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, the team that's dominated the NL for years. I think they drop out of their division title, and I think they ultimately become the second wild card team in this year. I think losing Trey Turner hurts tremendously. I think losing Justin Turner is going to be an underrated loss. That guy, I think, not just on the field, but in the clubhouse, what he has really meant to that team, that organization. Losing Tyler Anderson, who had an all-star year. I think they can find somebody who could do something similar, but it's going to be tough. They did re-sign Clayton Kershaw. They did bring in Noah Syndergaard and J.D. Martinez to bring power onto that DH spot. And Syndergaard, if they're hoping for a bounce-back year, really. So this is still a very good team, but now it's a little more top-heavy. It's not as deep as the Dodgers have usually been. I think they have a lot of great prospects. We'll see how many of them come up and can make a significant impact. I think that's what they're looking for. They're looking at their prospect pool and saying, hey, it's time to call some of you guys up probably this year. So we'll see how many of them make an impact because it's the Dodgers, probably a lot of them. But we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to count on a lot of rookies like that. I know a word for the Braves, but you can't always rely on that. So I do think this is still a great team, but I ultimately think they take a step back and do not win the division. Then the 6th wild card, like I talked about, it's a 3-headed bloodbath in the NL East. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies to make the playoffs. This team, adding Trey Turner to this, adding Taijuan Walker, who I do think might have a bit of a step back this year, playing in Citizens Bank Park versus Citi Field, but still a very solid pitcher. This is a very good team, although losing Rhys Hoskins really will hurt this team. I mean, it might help defensive-wise because now you're not playing both Bohm and Hoskins, but it's going to hurt your offense significantly. But this is a very good team. Obviously, just went to the World Series, and you're adding Trey Turner. This is a deadly team. Bryce Harper, though, will not start the season. Losing Rhys Hoskins, I ultimately have them just getting in at the final wild card. Then we got the NL MVP and Cy Young. For NL MVP, I think it's very clear and obvious, in my opinion, who's going to win this. That's Juan Soto. I think he's really started to come into his own at the end of the year in San Diego. I think he finally got comfortable there, and I think he gets back to the Juan Soto that we've seen in Washington, and I think he tears the lights off the ball this year. I think he gets his OPS back up, his average back up, and he's going to start, and his slugging's going to be through the roof this year. I think he's going to be the best player in the NL this year. Pitching-wise, for Cy Young, it's a crapshoot. I'm not going to lie. It is a crapshoot. You have a bunch of pitchers in the NL East, whether it be Scherzer, Verlander, Wheeler, Fried, Strider. No, you have so many pitchers. I ultimately am going to go with a bit of a wild card here. I think you got to take at least one. I'm going to go with Zach Gallen here. Zach Gallen, pitcher for the Diamondbacks, right now 27 years old. Awesome player. Awesome player. Finished 5th in Cy Young last year. 2 years ago, finished 9th. I think Arizona's gotten a lot better this year. I think they ultimately finished 3rd in their division. I think they get in the 70s amount of wins, high 70s maybe. Close to 500, but not there just yet. This is a good team. I think having a better team is going to help him, and I think he really has a career year here last year. Had a 2.54 ERA with a 9.13 WHIP and a 5.9 hits per 9. I think this is the guy that is going to fly under the radar a bit and can really do some damage for the Diamondbacks and ultimately win a Cy Young for them. But we'll go. That is my predictions for the regular season. Postseason, we'll give just a little bit. We won't go through each matchup, but ultimately, out of the AL, I'm going to have the Astros coming back to the World Series again. Not surprised. Out of the NL, you probably guessed it. I am biased. I am a New York Mets fan, so I'm going with the New York Metropolitans. All right, welcome back to the Scharf Show here on 99.1 FM WIUX, and we are coming down to the wire in the NHL season. And my New Jersey Devils, they have clinched a playoff spot for the first time in 5 years, and it feels so good. Oh, postseason hockey back at the Rock, baby. Let's go. The Devils, now with a clinched over the week this past week, getting to 100 points. Now have the X next to their name. The other teams that have also clinched are the Carolina Hurricanes, the Boston Bruins, but Boston has also clinched their division, and they have clinched, I think they probably have clinched the 1 seed as well in the Eastern Conference, which is crazy. No teams in the Western Conference have clinched yet. The teams that have been eliminated mathematically so far are the Sharks, the Ducks, the Blackhawks, the Coyotes, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And this Devils team, they went through a rough patch. I'm not going to lie, they went through a rough patch. They've been going through a bit of a rough patch in their last 10. They're 5-3-2. Not amazing, but they've started to really come out of it, play very good hockey. Timo Meier continues to get better and better, looks more comfortable every day. Jack Hughes, who kind of went through a bit of a scoring rough patch, looks like he found his scoring touch again, and looks like the player that he was pre kind of that shaky little injury. He's looked back to normal now, and he's looked absolutely awesome. That goal that he scored against Ottawa was absolutely disgusting going through the entire team. That was Connor McDavid-esque. And I'm just so excited to watch not just playoff hockey, but New Jersey Devils playoff hockey. It's getting me so excited, so going. And the chance that you can play the Rangers in the first round would be an absolutely crazy rivalry game that I think would get everybody, not just in the East, in the Northeast, but everybody in the country who likes hockey would be tuning into that. Now, we also did have, speaking of hockey, the Frozen Four finished yesterday, or at least we got to the Frozen Four with Minnesota, BU, Michigan, and Quinnipiac qualifying. And if you never watched college hockey, it is some very underrated hockey, really good hockey. It's awesome to watch these kids put everything on the line. The Michigan-Penn State game, 2 Big Ten teams. Michigan won in overtime 2-1 against Penn State. It was an awesome game to watch. Back and forth action, great defense. The Michigan deadly power play. Michigan with Fantelli, who's going to be probably the 2nd overall pick in the draft this coming year, and Luke Hughes, who was the 4th overall pick to the Devils. Absolutely great action. Minnesota with Logan Cooley. Quinnipiac with one of the best goalies in the country, who's not even drafted right now. It has been playing great. BU, known for their tradition in hockey and their legacy that they bring to college hockey. It was some awesome hockey. If you got time, I would definitely check it out. Those games will be played on April 6th, 5 and 8:30. Definitely check them out if you have the time. But that'll do it all for this show. Thank you guys so much for listening on the air. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. My name is Josh Scharf. Hope you guys have a great sports week coming up. A lot to look forward to. I'm Josh Scharf, as I just said, on the Scharf Show on 99.1 FM WIUX. I will see you on the other side.